the holding side. Ed and Navneet were working on the, like I say, the holding side, and I've been focusing on identity, though a number of things, really just learning about the platform and coming up to speed on it. Probably most of what I've been doing. I come from a development background. That's my thing.
Yeah, just a sentence, Kit.
Hey.
Kit's active in the community. He's working on the membership aspects. We're looking at how we handle the membership with the Ethereum Rock token and the membership community of RChain that's trading rocks and other things.
Yeah, basically, I'm trying to concentrate on onboarding. So trading rocks is part of that, but other aspects like activist benefits and contracts and a FAQ.
Right. Albert, can you tell us a few words?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Jim, thank you so much for your help in the DM, in the Slack DM. So my name is Albert. I actually met with Ed yesterday. I am a founder of a blockchain business called Review My, and we were talking about the holding cell, Glenn. Currently, right now, we built the MVP at the beginning of this year, went through trying to raise funds during this early spring into South by Southwest. It does have a music industry component to it. And then I got married in April, and my co-founder is my best man. So we kind of, we knew it wasn't a really get to market kind of product. It was more about making sure the product is what it needed to be. So we kind of hit the brakes real quick, knowing that we were going to go onto blockchain, and we brought a consultant on board that actually introduced us to RChain. He had met Ed and Greg back at Consensus, I believe it was. It was in New York and Greenpoint, I think. But spoke to Ed and really, really excited. We have a co-op here in Austin as well. So just the alignment and mission and vision is something that we're really excited about. So I'm just trying to join all the meetings, learn what's going on, get to meet the community, and go from there. So woke up early, and here I am.
Quickly, Ian, can you give Andre a little introduction?
Hi, Ian Bloom. I've just been helping out with RChain where I can, and before that, the scenario. And I'm very interested in kind of distinguishing between the technologies in Uport and Sovereign. They both look very promising, but trying to see which one might fit better for RChain, and which one has kind of a better chance of taking the lead in the industry.
Great, awesome. Okay, with that, I'll basically turn it over to you guys to put in agenda items. And here's Andre.
Thanks, Jim. My name is Andreas Freund. Quickly to my background, in a former life, I was a theoretical physicist. I run my own research group. I've been in management consulting for close to 15 years now, and I am currently leading blockchain advisory group of Tata Consultancy Services. If you are not familiar with Tata, those of you are not, we are a global organization approaching 400,000 employees across almost 130 countries, primarily India. Part of the Tata Group, which is the largest Indian industrial conglomerate. And my focus on blockchain is in the blockchain space is along various elements. Number one is, work with our clients to explain or try to explain to them that a blockchain behind the firewall is not really a blockchain. You just use a shared database. So that's a hard one. But some get it, which is good. We're trying to work with them, and we're actually working with them across multiple consortia, such as the Trusted IoT Alliance. We're about to join the Decentralized Identity Foundation, so I can, if interested, I can talk a little bit about that. The Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, Hyperledger, and probably, hopefully, either later this year or early next year, IC3. So that's the consortia side. We have a co-innovation network that has about 2,800 startups in it by now, close to. And we're curating particularly a blockchain ecosystem. Monex, BigChain, Zcash, Factom, Consensus are part of that ecosystem. We are also, so besides the consortia and ecosystem build activities, I'm also focused on, besides delivery, POC, I do security audits for clients. I want to go into production, pretty much always telling them you're absolutely insane, trying to do it the way you want to do it. And lastly, do R&D. So we have built our own internal platform by our banking technology group. We have first product out, that's Quartz for banks. And we have built a fully open source blockchain platform out of open source components, which we call the Industrial Internet Platform, upon which we have built a digital identity platform. We're also focused on privacy. So one of the things that is about to kick off is putting in ZK Snarks verification circuits as natives, similar to what Zcash is doing with JP Morgan Chase for Quorum, and they're also doing that with the Ethereum Foundation. So I suggested that product already last year to them, but they were a bit busy. And then JP Morgan Chase beat us to the punch because they're just paying them. Oh well. We're also working on parallelizing the EVM. That's another research project, as well as generalizing the ILP, the Interledger Protocol, such that we can run multiple chains in parallel. That's going to be part of the Industrial Internet Platform, where we're intending to run, hopefully somewhere around 10,000 chains, each with 100 to 200 nodes in parallel. So that's it.
Thanks.
Happy to be here and to lend advice.
Great to have you here. For those of you who haven't seen it, we had a awesome hangout with Andreas back in November when we were still Scenario, and he laid out the identity landscape beautifully at that time. I'm kind of curious about what happens there. But I have one question, since we know each other pretty much from the Marmot community, the Monex folks. The work that you were talking about, native ZK zero knowledge proofs, the ZK Snarks, Is that going to be a native feature of Monax?
We want to donate. Yeah, we want to contribute that code. Since we're doing it with the EVM, we'll do it in the context of Borrow. So we are also a co-maintainer of Borrow. Borrow is the effectively the virtual state machine module of Monax, and that is a Hyperledger incubation project. And that's also working. There's an effort right now of integrating Borrow into Sawtooth, which is the Intel Hyperledger project. And so we're trying to kick up that effort. So to bring all the new features to also to Borrow.
Questions from the peanut gallery?
Could you, this is Glenn, could you talk a little bit more about the Decentralized Identity Foundation? I think you mentioned you're joining that.
Mm-hmm.
What are you planning there?
So the Decentralized Identity Foundation is a foundation consortium that consists of founding members or Microsoft, RSA, Accenture, Sovereign, Civic, Tyrion, Gem, Uport, so Consensus. Who did I forget? Blockstack. Sorry, yeah. Blockstack. So their Big Chain DB is now also in there. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple. We're joining too for whatever internal political reasons. We didn't become part of the founding members, but that is going to change. So what they're all about is creating standards and reference implementations for decentralized identity. So the proper naming convention, so you can actually find stuff, right? Which is important. Standards around what they're calling decentralized identifiers, DIDs, which are effectively, verify pointers to decentralized data objects, which are identity claims, as sort of like the basic objects there. And then the goal is to actually build so-called identity hubs that allow you to effectively replicate the data across multiple hubs, and these hubs have APIs through the Blockstack base stack into whatever blockchain you want that carries your identity. Uport, Sovereign Network, Civic Network, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
So is it fair to say that they each follow roughly the Sovereign spec, or is that not true? That there's really a diverse set of different solutions?
There are a diverse set of different solutions that we're starting to agree on, sort of like the abstraction components of that, right? So what's the spec? There's a spec for DID, right? There's a spec for DDO, right? That's rebooting the web of trust. So specs, right? So that's sort of like the first agreement. There will be changes to that. You can always add more, right? If your data object, right, is as long as it has these minimal elements. If you want to pack additional shit in there, you can, right? So because that's important if you want to be able to port your identity, right, and make it effectively blockchain agnostic, which we have.
Okay, but the
our solution has.
The DID DDO approach is, at least that portion of it, they're driving towards consensus across that with the whole group.
Yes. We pretty much said, yeah, we're going to start with that. Right.
Okay.
The naming convention is something more interesting, because you need to
These are for claims.
Yes, for claims.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, if you want to find something, right? Well, how are you going to name it? What's the naming convention? How can you resolve it into the how can you resolve the effectively the identity?
If you how do you express a question about someone's identity and come back with an answer that's meaningful, and do that in a standard way, is the way I see it.
Right. So it's yes, exactly. So it's how you resolve effectively, like you would resolve a web address, right? Yeah. So and being still compatible with DNS, right? So you need to, you need to be able to distinguish search, based on what's the, when you go somewhere, you need to be able to resolve that, the path to the DID, right?
Yeah, we did some work on service discovery at IIW. I think that, to address this to some extent.
I was there at the May meeting.
So was I. I guess we didn't run into each other. That's too bad.
Nope, we didn't. We were primarily working on with the DAF members, so it was very focused. But there was a session on discovery, right? So there was work, a lot of discussion, actually. Most of the discussion was on that.
Yeah.
So on the discovery, can you help my understanding? So what you're talking about there is that you can discover a service that serves something about my identity. So it's a service that is related specific to me. Is that the concept?
Yeah. So if you're willing to publish verified claims about yourself, right? So you can effectively do a Google search, right? You could say, how many U.S. citizens, validated U.S. citizens older than 18 are registered. You can run that query, right? Or you could, if you actually have published your name, right? You can resolve that name, or names that are just like it, that have different keys associated with them. You can show whatever the same, Albert Bates is has published about themselves. Yeah, you can see, right? And then you can see the claims, and you can see the attester signatures, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's basically the same mechanism of a well-known URL as used in OpenID, where your OpenID provider gives a whole set of URLs for handling your identity.
Yeah. So it's just you need to be it's not just one. You need to be compatible also to the regular URLs, right? It's not so it has to handle URLs and IRLs at the same time.
I see that I'm just looking at their website. They also have zero trust data stores.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's the zero knowledge proofs concept?
It doesn't have to be necessarily zero knowledge proofs. It can be. You can publish you can publish a zero knowledge proof. The challenge with publishing zero knowledge proofs is that you can appropriate that proof for yourself, right? Because the verification circuit only gives you a 0 or 1 back.
Okay. So what's
Right.
the zero knowledge database then?
No, you can zero knowledge just means that it doesn't leak PII.
I see. So you can submit a query that comes back. Is it still a true false return, or is there something different there?
No, you can have, for example, a whole claim return, right? But the claim is just merely the statement combined with a hash and signatures, right? That's a claim. It's like I am over 18 years old, right? And the hash is, for example, the hash of the claim document that was used during attestation, which could have been your passport.
And it's like, is it a session-based thing? So there's no way to link back to the actual identity, or how? Once you've given, I'm trying to understand how once you've given away once you've transferred data, even if it's securely, I'm just wondering the extent to which it continues to control your privacy. You
have all the signatures, right? So unless you have the private key, you cannot. I can always prove that this is my claim by signing that claim, right? By signing the message that I'm with a claim, right? So I send the claim to you with my signature, and you can validate that the signature in that claim is my signature.
Were you asking
okay.
if you if I get a proof that you're over 21, can anything prevent me from telling somebody else that you're over 21? And I don't think there's any way.
Yeah.
So the point here is that you have a claim, you publish that claim that has attestation signatures, and that's it, right? It's like you cannot, if you want to use that's just for visibility purposes, right? If you want to have an additional step, right? So for example, in our system, you can share a claim with someone, right? And that requires that you get a token, right? So, hey, I want to see show me your KYC, right? Okay, you get a token from me, and then you spend that token in order to get access, right, to that data. But again, it's only hashes. It's claim statements in clear speak, and then hashes and signatures, right? The hash just says there is a document that is related to that hash, right? Or there's a proof, right, related to that hash that was attested by these attesters, right? And these attesters then carry they're whitelisted, right? So it's Wells Fargo or the U.S. government, what have you not, right?
Yeah. So
right,
do you share just a philosophical opinion a little bit that while I agree from the decentralized standpoint and autonomous that you can create one of these identities anytime you want, there's no one stopping you from creating them, or creating them at least. But it also serves as sort of a better way to share your personal information, like a more assured way of actually giving people your private information.
Yes, we have built that into our solution. We've built personas that are effectively data collectors or collectors of data pointers, and then you can. I mean, the challenge is not to manage that data. The challenge is to get control of that data in the first place. You know what I mean?
No, can you?
So when you browse, right?
Yeah.
There are browser log files that exist not on your server or on your
Right.
computer, right? So you need to put in, privacy regulations have to get to a stage where these browser log files are either no longer kept, or they are encrypted,
or you own them.
They are encrypted with you holding the key, with you being given the key to those files.
Right.
That is actually a significant issue right now, with a lot of companies having to be compliant with GDPR by next May. In case
Is the log file portion part of GDPR?
yeah, sure. Because it's identifiable, right? It's your IP.
I see.
It's your IP address, right? IP address is already, it depends on the situation, but even based on established case law here in the US, IP is PII. Right? Because through statistical inference, I can identify you readily.
Yeah. Understood.
Right.
Okay.
So you should not be able to find that, right? So that's a big challenge.
So
right?
So I don't mean to. I want to leave it open to other people that have questions. I have more questions.
Yeah, you're great, Glenn. Keep going.
Okay, so dive in. Okay, everybody else, feel free to dive in. So that's really interesting. So in the case of the log files, so then what would happen is there'd be like you're saying, so a host, a server would need to separately encrypt any logs. How about their access to that information?
Well,
Would they always have to notify you that they've used it? Is that?
No, they can't access it because only you hold the decryption key.
Yeah, I was meaning in terms of policy, because
No,
okay.
so GDPR, within GDPR, you have to specify your elections, right? So you can say yes, I allow you to have that access to that data, but that election can be changed at any time, also retroactively. So yes, you can see my browser data. Year later, right? I changed my mind. You can't. And all the history that has been stored has to be obfuscated as well, or deleted.
It's such a huge shift. I wonder, do you have any philosophical thoughts on whether that'll really be interpreted that way? Whether years from now we'll really find this? Whether people will really implement that, or what do you think? I don't know.
As of May next year, if you are in violation of GDPR, you can be fined up to 4% of global gross revenue.
Wow.
And not only is that relevant for European-based companies, but companies doing business in Europe, and European businesses doing business with other people that they're sharing data with, because you can be held if there's a willing violation, you can the other companies that are not forcing a European-based company to be GDPR compliant can then be sued as co-conspirators, because they willingly accept the fact that their counterpart was in violation of GDPR.
Yeah. So just in your thoughts, so companies wanting to switch to a decentralized identity, they can essentially rid themselves of that risk? That would be their attractives.
They can, right?
Yeah.
But that is not going to happen. It's only
Yeah.
going to happen once the European court hands out a $10 billion fine.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to happen, and there are going to be lawsuits within with the first few months, right? There are already efforts that are being planned to check out to sue companies.
They're already doing the research.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because GDPR is a club that you can wield, and that consumer protection groups can wield, right? Because as of May 1st, you have to be compliant. If not, you can be sued.
At AT&T, we were making an identity product, and we had to scrub all the PII out of the logs. Now this is spreading to every business is going to have to do this.
So, but there are very interesting implications, right? So, for example, when you shop at Amazon Europe, Amazon.de, for example, Germany, right? They need to ask you which part of the order data they're allowed to use, right? You could say, you cannot use my address. Then they'll say, how am I going to ship it to you? And you could say, you notify me, right? I mean, you can make the point, notify me when you want to ship it, and I'll reveal my address to you at that point. Or I'll reveal the zip code first, right? I mean, you can, and then Amazon's going to say, well, you can't shop with us, right? You have to be compliant. And then others will, then Amazon will be sued by, and people will say that's too restrictive, right? I don't have to share everything with you up front, right? Right? You just need to have trusted statements about, it's like that I can pay and where you need to ship it, right?
Yeah, or even better yet, a token with a shipping provider, so there's no link between your address and the item at all.
However you want to do it, yes, you can issue a token that gives you access to the address that the shipper gets, that is only accessible after a certain date. So we have that built in, right, in our solution.
So one of the things I think about this is more, I don't know, I guess philosophical or whatever, but I see the architecture is there's a database that allows that it's very data centric, and it seems to me also that the concepts have a very small amount of data that they're really talking about, your address, your age, these types of things. But one thing I've thought a lot about is like, well, we really want like petabytes of personal information. If you think of every GPS location we've ever been to, every picture we've ever taken, every heartbeat monitor, as medical devices become so advanced that we can have our own, birth to life monitoring. I mean, as you really think about what could happen, the amount of data that could be specific to you that you would not want to share publicly, you want trust around, but nonetheless, you want a huge volume of it.
Why? I mean, so here's a question that I always ask people: Why?
Why would you want that?
Why would you want that? Unless you want to monetize it and sell it to someone.
Oh, right? I mean, no. So right? I want it because here's the thing. So let's take two people. One is a doctor and a research scientist in medicine, and another is an insurance CEO. So the research guy, I'd like them to be able to access every single heartbeat, every bit of blood sample, you name it. And if they can do that,
sure you can, if you pay me for it, right? That's the point, right?
Well,
personal data is an asset.
Well, so hold on a second. So I can enter into any kind of contract I want. If I benefit from the fact that that researcher has now found a way to extend people's lives by 10, 15, 20 years, that's awesome, or even 1 year. Whereas if they're going to turn around and sell it to an insurance company that's going to make money because they say, oh, I see a higher risk, so we're going to charge you more. That's not how I'd like to share that.
Right. So just one example that shows why that is, that you need to incentivize people, or otherwise, or even if you incentivize people, it's not going to happen. So with the ACA, you have the individual mandate, right? So it would make sense that everybody says, hey, yeah, sure, I'm buying health insurance because it's like it's an insurance. The insurance pool has to be large. We have to have healthy and sick people, because at one point I'll be sick, and then the other healthy people should pay for me, right? That's not how people. That's not how human psychology works, right? It's not, because if it were to work like that, like that logical mind, then we would, everybody in the U.S. would carry health insurance. They don't, right? Because they're making
I
a
guess
risk.
I was looking at it more from a technological perspective. How do you write a system that allows that you trust the context of some access, but you can guarantee that it won't be used in ways that you. I guess what I'm saying is I'm all for the decentralized identities and what's going on there in terms of giving people control over. There's no centralized source, and you build a.
The storage is not a problem. The storage is not a. It's not a problem. I can replicate and shard, blah blah blah. It's a human-centered design problem, right? I can build you the best decentralized data storage solution in the world, right? If people are not willing to accumulate that kind of data because they think they don't need it, or because they don't want to, because why should I share it, right? Unless I get incentivized. See, once people get hooked on,
well, for me,
wow, I can make money with my
reason has always been an incentive for me, I guess.
Yeah.
I've been incented by
for you.
I
but
found reasonable arguments to be an incentive.
Right, but that is not that's not a sufficiently large cross section of the population for things like that, unfortunately.
Basically, what the
That kind of bleak view.
It's an adoption problem. Well, I mean, look, right? Everybody should have started using email right away, right? Because that makes sense. It's a logical thing to do, right? When the internet came out, it took till like 1997 to get people used to using emails.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah. Okay.
The situation you're having.
Well, I get. I'm belaboring the point, but I guess I see this as it's interesting that it actually seems like a really great technology to share your private information in a trustable way. But once it's shared, I don't see any controls of it past that.
Well, here's what the decentralization buys you is that the researchers had to agree to all your terms for the use of the information. Okay, now if they tell somebody else, there's no way technology can stop that. But you can have a legal recourse because they broke the contract that you had with them as to how they were going to use your information.
Well, there's really two types of information, right? The information that is entirely obfuscated. They're just claims about you. I'm over 18 years old, or there's actual, correlatable data, right? At that point in time, the question is, what is your question you're going to ask of that data, right? So, and then the point becomes, it's like you don't need to see my individual data set, right? You need to have a model that produces the answer to your question, which means you don't have to be able to see my data in the clear.
That's right.
That's why we're working together with a startup called Enigma. Right? There's another one that's called Papyrus, they're effectively trying to solve that secure, privacy-preserving, multi-party computing.
It's homeomorphic encrypting, right?
No,
No.
no. It partially, yes. If you had full homeomorphic encryption, then that's fine. But effectively, what you do is you're parsing out the problem into smaller sets, and you're computing those sets in a TE, right? And then you're aggregating the results into other TEs until you have the final answer. That's Enigma. Papyrus is a little bit more centralized, where they say, you just send your encrypted data to that into the TE, and we will, in an encrypted fashion, so that the decryption key that you send is also encrypted in the TE. The data is then decrypted with the decryption key. It is then the model is run, the answer is given out to the outside world, and then the T is burned, which means the data is gone. It was never visible.
Yeah, so it seems to me what they're this may be a gross simplification, but it seems that they're creating essentially a safe or trusted compute environment. So the data is there. People provide, you can call it a query, or you can call it a program that executes over the data. The source data or the underlying data is then like verifiably inaccessible after that code has run, but the results of it can be used.
Right, and there is no more code. There's no other code, because the code itself has been verified to be executed exactly the same way that it was supposed to be. So you're generating actually a zero knowledge proof of the code, right? That is then published out.
Yeah. So one thing I think about with RChain, and again, this is probably a simplistic view, but with RChain, with Rolang, it seems to blur the distinction between code and data. And I wonder, I'm hoping, I guess, as I learn more about Rolang and RChain, is that it could be an environment where if you look at the contract, you can prove what the contract communicates with, or whom the contract communicates with. And I don't know the extent to which you can prove that any node would communicate with something else outside of the scope of what the contract says. I don't know how verifiable that is. But if you had a compute platform where you can say, well, I know that only this contract runs, but there's no other log files, there's no other way into the data that's in that contract.
Yeah.
Well, if you run the node in a T itself, and you only allow certain type of messages, then you have the node sealed, right? I mean, you deploy the node, right, with a key pair, then you burn that key, you create a new key pair internally that no one ever sees, right? That's it. So you can do that, for example, with Linux 1 or with Graphene OS.
Okay. Well, to me, that just seems extremely powerful, because now, if we go back to the case with the research scientist wanting access to some of my medical information, whether I do it personally or I trust a network of other knowledgeable people to review the contract/code and say, yeah, it looks at your medical information, it figures out things that are totally medically relevant. It completely does not at all, it in no way can identify you. It aggregates the data in such a way that it certainly comes up with conclusions for medical research, but but there's
You can
you know what I'm
you
saying?
can run a prediction market on Augur,
Yeah,
right?
there you go. Another way to trust, exactly. Another way to trust that research, exactly. Anyway,
Right? Just
that's
run a
really,
just run a prediction market. The problem is this is still slow, right? So we're still a couple of iterations away
Yeah,
from this
yeah.
being, but we're close. I mean,
now,
in 10 years, your phone will be its own data center, right?
we can, you know,
Yeah.
what this enables is enables us to use systems we trust to run the algorithm, okay, as opposed to the user of our information. The user of our information never sees it, and it's processed in a trustworthy manner. And yeah, RChain is a perfect solution. It's awesome.
Jim, what doesn't the user see? I followed you all the way through, and then the user doesn't see.
The person who's the
The
research.
consumer of there's no consumer of the raw data except for the contract.
Got it.
You've agreed to let them see your raw data, but something comes out of that contract, but that you're okay with.
Right.
Okay.
You're okay with what comes out of the contract, but not them seeing all your raw data.
Got it.
Is that fair, Jim?
Yeah, the data they pass to your trusted environment is encrypted. They can't tell what's in it, but we can decrypt it, run the algorithm, return the result. They only saw our data in an encrypted form.
Sure. Got it. So here's a question. I'm sorry, Galaxy. I missed your name earlier in the meeting, but with what is it?
Andreas.
With what the project that we're working on, we're going to be dealing with files that potentially can be synced or licensed out to multiple sources, right? How would this? How does this apply to that? If you could imagine, in the simplest term, I made a song. I want to put it out on the market to get licensed out, right? So I want to keep, as Jim was saying, that data is mine, right? I want that file's mine, but I still want as many people really to have access to it. How would this kind of apply there, if it does at all, or maybe I'm missing it?
Oh yeah. No. You're absolutely right. A song is its own digital identity, right? So that is owned and controlled by others, and you have tokens, right? And then you can purchase tokens, right? And then you share those tokens, and each token gives you access. So we have the concept of delegate control, as well as data access. So for example, there is the construct of a digital identity for the song. The actual underlying MP3 file is actually stored somewhere, right? And you're getting access to that URL, right? Effectively, if you purchase and spend a token.
Got it.
Right. So you're purchasing it, which means you have a token that if you then send the token to an API, that means that okay, you're cool, right? You're actually registered, right? Your identity or your public key, actually the hash of the public key, your public key is registered as a token holder once you purchase it. So if you purchase 10 tokens, you can listen to the song 10 times.
Got it. Okay. I'm trying to think on a larger scale too, because right now a big thing in the industry is syncing songs and audio files for Netflix movies, or any other type of films, and
so really what you're doing, the URL that you're giving is actually a URL that to a distributed file server, right? So where that's like like Netflix one, right? It's like a Netflix API that gives you access to to effectively their, capacity to serve up, can serve 100 million users at the same time.
Got it.
Right? So that's relatively straightforward. So for example, you're getting, your access, it's a hash of your key with the access token key that gives you the actual pointer, right? That gives you the session key effectively to listen to the song.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Right?
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, and you can immediately then pay out royalties, right?
Awesome.
Because ownership, right, is of the identity is then based on who actually owns the song, not who has access to listen to it, but who actually owns the song based on how many tokens they hold, right? And then money that is spent that's then accumulated to the identity of the song in a smart contract is then you take that and then you distribute the token based on the token quantities that the owners have at any given point.
Makes sense.
Right. So it's pretty straightforward. So we demoed how John Grisham could have published Camino Island using our digital identity solution end to end.
Do these files have DRM, or are they plain text, or plain just
whatever you want to do?
DRM?
It doesn't matter, right? It's up to you. That's not your think of this decentralized identity platform as a decentralized ACL.
Yeah, so I guess it comes back to, again, someone else could certainly steal it and publish it. What mechanisms would stop someone else selling it?
Because you can only access it once, right? Each token is unique. So once you've spent the token, it's gone.
Yeah, it's the same thing as, if I know you're over 21, I can tell someone. You can't stop somebody from scraping a screen or recording an audio.
Right. So why wouldn't I stick that? So why wouldn't I do it? Redigitize it. Go from digital audio back to digital. Stick it in another network that gives me it's a tenth of the price, but I didn't make the music, so I sell it in this other market for a hundredth of the price. But I do it to 100 songs.
Well, I mean, you would need to mix it at least up a bit or add some digital data such that the hash is not the same, right? Because then you can find that claim, right? So you can find those files, and yes, you cannot.
So it's the legal system. So you'd have a legal system. You say, okay, well, this group of people is not allowed to serve this song.
Eventually, it will be that you will have reputation, right? Someone will report you, right? And if you report it, then you can be censored, either by people not selling you stuff anymore, right? So yeah, there's, because it's digital in principle, nothing stops you, even if it's encrypted. It's so what? It's I mean, you can make it. You get a session key, decrypts it only for that session, for the one listening, and but then you would have to. The problem with encryption is that once you give someone the decryption key, it's done, right? So I actually am not a big fan of encryption, except for in very specific cases.
Yep. So what you're saying is the plain text, at least in these creative works, is actually plain text or plain unencrypted form is always available. It's just that we create through tokens and through a blockchain that verify that we trust as immutable or well, it's not immutable, but it's a forward-only store that you can't change, that we can't corrupt or
So for example,
like,
in this
yeah.
in this use case, in this POC, we introduced the concept of a trademark consortium. So you need to register an original piece of work first,
Yep.
and it needs to be attested to, yes, it is an original piece of work. So for
Yep.
example, you can then, if you download a song, you can say, hey, prove to me that it's an original piece of work.
And
right. Share that claim with me, or actually you can make it a requirement to say, you need to send the file with the identity claim. If you cannot provision the identity claim, then it's pirated.
Yep.
And the identity.
We're going to create.
We're getting to the top of the hour here. I don't know if you can go over what the limits you have. I did want to get a basic idea.
Sorry.
No, that's great. I thank you, Andreas. I enjoyed the conversation very much. Really, really appreciate it.
Sure. My pleasure.
In terms of the RChain community today, what technologies or what opportunities, what direction would you suggest us go in terms of developing the identity of the members? At this point, we're considering, proof of concept, proofs, Ethereum proofs that other people are providing, like proof of email, proof of phone, and maybe adding some of our own.
So what you can do is what you need is a data store, right, for your claims or all the data objects, which are assets, right? So we're treating every data object that's generated as an asset.
Right. And what do you recommend?
And we're using BigChain.
Oh, right. We're looking at BigChain for our chain. Can we use BigChain today for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been using it for over a year.
Awesome.
We're using it with so we're using it with MongoDB. The only thing that doesn't work right now is if you turn on sharding in Mongo.
Yeah.
Because of you don't know where the shard is, right? I mean, but there is a way how to do it. BigChain is working on it. So again, it's work in progress, right? Is it scalable to the data scale that I want to be at in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
No. But by that time, it will be there.
We're not going to have that many members in the co-op.
Right. No, but yes. I mean, you're for your purposes right now. Yes, absolutely. It's absolutely not a problem.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
You can even use the public network if you want for storage. The IPDB, right? So I would highly recommend that, because that makes any identity or identity claims interoperable.
Yeah. Okay. There's one other thing I was hoping to squeeze in, which is really the Greg Meredith's concept of identity, that you are what you do. And we're sort of following that now in the Digital Life Collective with what we call the social ledger, where in the Mattermost, you type commands to join activities with others and assign responsibilities and discuss and control the privacy of those discussions as well. And get, a token reward system that goes along with successful activities with
like Steemit.
sociocracy and self-management principles. But with this volume of everything being personal information, so to speak, everything being on your social ledger, in the you are what you do technology, thing, you're making your resume here. There is this tremendous volume of information to that's going to be part of the process. Now, we have the information anyway. Storage is cheap. It just has to be permissioned. I was just wondering your thoughts on scaling.
Scaling is a problem. We're working on that. We want to have this concept of identity hubs together with like the likes of like a Microsoft or an AT&T or a Cisco, right? I mean, so the basic challenge is user density and standards, right? So what I'm looking for is the Windows 95 moment, when Microsoft shipped TCP/IP in Windows 95, it effectively forced everyone to adopt that standard if they wanted to continue use the Windows operating system, which at that point was like what, 95%, 98%. So that really brought out the internet, that event.
Yeah.
And then,
an interesting side on that is that government purchasing came up with a ruling that all computers bought by the military had to be POSIX compliant by 1995. And so with, Microsoft was forced to support POSIX, which is the basic Unix system call. Right. And in fact, at NJIT, we had a pre-release of Windows 95 that had all the Unix utilities. It was a full Unix system. By the time it got released, they somehow stripped out the Unix, but of course they still had the sockets and the
right.
communications and the system calls.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. So the thing that is really stands out is really to get to that effectively coverage, and that's what I'm primarily working on, right? And that cannot be achieved by on a grassroots level. Never will be.
Well,
but
grassroots has to meet the top. Grassroots has to meet the top down at some point.
Yeah. Of course, it will. Right? It has in the internet too, right? But there was a top down which enabled it, right? So my goal is in the next, to have over 1 billion users on blockchain in the next 3 years.
Awesome.
Right. So that's an ambitious goal, but again, that is the only way to do that is top down, right? And we're going to talk. We're starting to talk with the Indian government about this. Keyword here is Aadhaar, right? Which is the Indian digital identity system, which has over 1 billion identities on it, and it's centralized. It's quite problematic, to say the least. So anyway, so that there are a couple of opportunities. If you get the right players to say yes, you can roll out the infrastructure that all the other chains can hook into over the next 3 years, 5 years.
What about data formats for claims and such? Is there something one that we should adopt in particular at this point?
I would stick with the basic BID and DDO format for the time being. I mean, you can always add stuff to it, but I would have those elements as the basic one.
Is there before you go, Andreas? Is there anyone in the space right now that is strictly or known more on the sales, marketing / communication side? That's like someone leading the charge in that end to bring early adopters onto the blockchain that you know of? Anyone?
What do you mean I mean, every single every single project, every single ICO out there is trying to do that.
Of course. The reason I asked is we met with the founders of what is it?
Factom. Yeah. Peter Kirby.
Yeah, and their lead. Oh man, her name is escaping me. Tatiana.
Oh yeah, Tatiana. She's their CMO. I know her. Yeah.
Yes. So that's basically what I'm.
Good gal.
You know, my experience is on that end as far as selling products and whatnot. And what as we're having these meetings, I'm seeing that area of opportunity there, and I'm curious is at a wide scale, right? And just the idea of the technology of what blockchain can do for us as humanity. Is there someone leading the charge that has that type of long-term experience and expertise?
There's ID 2020, right? Which is a UN sponsored NGO.
Got it.
Right. So there's Accenture and Microsoft. They're going to work with ID 2020 to build out an identity system. So these are the identity hubs. So that's what we're going to hook into this as well. Again, that's how the scale is going to come in, right? Microsoft rolling it out to every single Windows user, right? And you being incentivized to participate in it by making space available on your machine to replicate part of the hubs. That is how, I mean, they're already paying you to use Bing, right? So it's just an extension of that.
Got it. Awesome. That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, gentlemen. I have a couple of young ladies here that I have to make sure that they actually have some breakfast. So I apologize, but I have to run.
Well, we thank you very much, Andreas, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, so everybody, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can drop me notes. You guys have a Slack?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Then invite me to your Slack. I'm happy to provide guidance, insights, whatever you guys need.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate the time. Have a good day, guys.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you, Andreas.
You're very welcome.
Got here late.
Hey,
Bon
how are you?
appetit.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was an excellent meeting. I guess see you next time.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jim.
enjoyed it. Okay. See ya.